Hello, this is Confabulation. I'm Pearl, she, her pronouns, and joining me today is
Michelle, she, her pronouns.
And we're with our Sister's House, a domestic violence and education services agency. If anyone that you know is experiencing domestic violence, feel free to contact us at 253-383-4275 or visit our website at oursisterhouse.com. So today we're going to remind everyone that we'll be having our All A Days event. It's coming back in December 17th, partnering with Me Central. And this will be between 12 and 3 p.m. For more information, check out our website. So today's topic, we're going to be beginning with child online exploitation. And I think to start off that topic, we should begin with talking about child labor laws. So what is it for child labor laws? And let's begin with that. Guardians are able to control and access children's funds. They're able to control when a child is actively working and where they work, and even for how long, And the labor laws that we do have on books have been training to agriculture and to Hollywood. And so that kind of takes us over to social media, right? Which is that it is an unregulated area in which children are able to work, that parents put their children to work, and that's in several ways, right? So one of them is by making videos, which is either these videos about how to be a parent or videos about children in general, whether that's their parenting style of, correcting a child's disruptive behavior, whether it's their everyday activities. But these are some of the ways that, as with social media, likes, followers, money, subscriptions, they can profit off their child through filming.
Yeah. And so who's getting the money there, though? Not the child, but the parents. And so when you're looking at the child labor laws, when you're talking about it, at least in agriculture and Hollywood, the children are at least getting the monetary value of it. And in that context, the parents are getting the money. So it's just something, when you're looking at the construct of it, who's really getting paid. And the other part is, even if there's some limitations to it, there are saying you can only work a certain amount of hours. Even if it's not great, there's still limitations to that.
Right. And the labor laws, as you're saying, covers the hours, but also covers the content that children are being exposed to, right? So it prevents his children from engaging in sexually explicit content, in super violent content. And these are things that are controlled in Hollywood when a child's filming. But this is not controlled so much on social media. And so some of those social media trends that we're seeing is, as we were saying, it's like some are these humiliation videos, which from a DV perspective, public humiliation is abuse. It can be abusive tactic to control someone. And so when you see these public humiliation videos, which are often put in the context of parental discipline or correcting the child's behavior, they're often of a child having a tantrum. They're breaking down, they're emotionally not responding. And many of these videos, the parent is laughing at the child, mocking the child, or discounting the child's emotional feelings.
When thinking of that, it's a type of bullying that a lot of times these children are going to end up emulating in the schools and in daycare or in outside of the schools. And when you're the one who's experiencing that at the home in the family violence aspect, where else are you going to end up doing it if that's the only type of reprimanding or because it is reprimanding that you're getting. It's not a teaching way of education in the house, rather than you're a punishing type.
Right. And so, that's one trend that we're seeing with the children. The other trend, which some parents may see as positive or not, would be kind of showing what a good parent you are, and people putting their kids in cutesy clothes or the kids just doing cutesy things. And the reason we have to consider that is because whether or not it's intentional, the reality is pedophiles and sex traffickers are online. And they can be erotically aroused by a child in a diaper, a child taking a bath, a child on the beach in a swimsuit. And while those are innocent enough, they are things that end up on the dark web. They end up being profited and used in a negative aspect.
And even if they're not on the dark web, people who are liking them and sharing them, sometimes they're taking the pleasure in it in not a nice way, and it's in an erotic form, and they're passing it on to other people. And so in the 90s, it was the idea of stranger danger, but really the people that are sharing it are the people that you know, and the people they know who know somebody, and that's the people that are actually getting the excitement from this, and it's causing the real issues in this.
Yeah, that is correct. A lot of sex trafficking and sexual exploitation happens with people you know. It's a lot of times in the family, it's friends, it's extended family, and those are people who may be, obsessing over your child and looking for these videos and shots in particular. And so what we're seeing for that is like a pattern on TikTok. The Financial Times has verified with law enforcement, other child safety groups, that TikTok has, unlike other social media platforms, its regulation of safety measures. The algorithm is not actually filtering out whether these videos are inappropriate or who's viewing these videos. And so the way this occurs is that the content is shared on private accounts, and they post them on their private accounts. This is under the only me function. So a parent or a child could then give a password then onto can give the password to the people viewing it, and those people can access this account to see these videos. And oftentimes what we're finding with these videos is that they're either the children, as I was saying before, it may not be so explicit as a new child. It may be a child in a bathing suit or so. And then what we're seeing is that, unfortunately, that these are parents who are giving access to individuals to do that. Okay, and so what we're finding on these videos is that the ones that are being viewed, shared, and liked the most are often the ones in which children are being posed in ways that may be considered sexual. So, or they're being dressed in a certain way, whether this is cutesy in bathing suits or so. And so it's really been seen that on TikTok that there is a pattern where parents are purposefully posing their children in seductive positions or in clothing, and that's to attract those viewers, increase the sponsorships, and ultimately gain revenue. That's where we get into the sexual exploitation. And like when we're looking at these, it kind of goes to, as we've debated about the negatives about this, then I think it's time to talk about where the innocence is, right? So there's parents who are just sharing the first birthday. They think they're just sharing first walks. They're not doing anything like that. It's being misconstrued. And then you have people in the public area too, like public photographers who take open public photos of people, right? And they may not be targeting a child specifically, but there may be a child in their photo, right? And so what we're seeing in the EU is that they're starting to pass laws to try to address this and give children more autonomy and rights over those photos.
It's kind of interesting of what would happen if they brought it here, because it's not only if one state were to do it, they would have to figure out the federal ways, because if one state wants to do something, the other state would have to follow along, and because the internet crosses state lines. And the other thing that happens when we think of the EU is because the internet crosses all over the world, of what happens if somebody from the EU posts it here and then it crosses over the country lines, and it's somebody there who posts here and then brings it across. So it's just those interesting ideas of what will happen and those mindsets of how they're going to approach those things.
Yeah, I agree with you that like when we're talking about that kind of regulation, you have to think, does the photo belong to the subject or the photographer? And then is the subject or the photographer, are they going to be confined to, the laws of their area? So is it their state or their country? And those are legitimate general questions, and I think in the EU, because it's what they've really seen is that children, and there's a whole generation of kids, especially, the kids born 2000 up, whose entire childhood is online. And, as we were saying about DV, some of these kids are saying, hey, there's a photo of my baby butt. I'm a middle schooler going through puberty. That's embarrassing to me, but I can't make mom and dad take it down. Social media does not have a button to complain about this photo and doesn't recognize that photo as an issue, even if it's bringing me harm.
Well, even if they can get it taken down, once it's on the internet, it's always on the internet.
There's also that. It's like there's no guarantee that you get it off that platform, that it's not on a different platform. So, yeah, there's a bunch of like tracking it down, following it. I know in France, basically, their understanding, as we were saying about the sexual exploitation and public humiliation, is that if the child can prove upon 18 that this photo has caused them irreparable harm, that they could legally sue their parent for the harm caused. Maybe that's the standard to consider in the U.S. Maybe the standard is proving that there was harm done by the photo, you know. But then, like we said before, we have to consider those innocent photos of parents taking photos on the beach, or, you know, or like something like Nirvana's case where the kid's in a pool. It's like, well, technically that's a baby in a pool, you know.
But something also is, what is innocent to one person may not actually be innocent to another. And so when you're thinking of, oh, it was an innocent picture of a little kid at the swing set, and maybe they ran out and in their diaper while they're in the middle of changing, and it just was like a great photo op, and all of a sudden it was like a really cute moment and you wanted to capture it and share it with everybody, and then all of a sudden it was really humiliating to somebody, right? Like, so what's humiliating and was endearing could be completely different things. And so, I mean, like, that's one aspect of it. And then the other is, like, where do you move forward in our younger generations are going to view this completely differently than other generations who are now having to learn and adapt from it, and where is going to be a healthy median line, because a lot of times there's no one way that's right, and to kind of come up with a happy medium until we can kind of progress into everybody who's kind of developed with this mindset that everybody has developed with social media.
No, that much I can agree that, you know, we haven't. I think it is subjective. Ultimately, I think the photo sharing, it is subjective, and I think social media, these platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and them, they could do more. I think, you know, their algorithm registers there's more than one face. Maybe that's something that they consider, that if you can say, hey, that's me, I don't want my likeness, I don't care who posts it, take it down. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe it doesn't have to be quite so legal where you're suing your parents as the EU is. Maybe it's simply regulation that you own your likeness, and regardless of age, you can request that likeness to be taken down, and they have to have consent. Now, how much parents are going to like that if you say take down all my birthday photos? Who knows? But I do think that's something that in social media we have to recognize the risk, and it is becoming risky. And as we're seeing on TikTok, which is one of the platforms that you know, younger individuals heavily use, that is a platform that is being exploited in that manner. So it is something to some degree we have to think about and regulate. All right, y'all. I want to thank you guys for joining us. This is Pearl and Michelle with Confabulation. And we want to remind you that we'll be having our holidays events December 17th, 12 to 3 at Me Central. So check out our website for more details on that. Thank you for listening again. This is Our Sister's House. And if you or anyone you know is experiencing domestic violence, reach out to us at 253-383-4275 or at oursistershouse.com. Thank you.
A quick note from the producer. Thank you to everybody who was able to make it out to our karaoke ball this past Saturday. We had an amazing time, and I hope everybody that joined us also had an amazing time. We are also having our holidays event coming up this December, where we will be partnering with Me Centro. So keep an eye out on our social medias and an ear out on Confabulation for more updates as we approach closer. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.